This is Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Subscribe for new content notifications. Now, here's Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. We got an exciting guest here today. It is Hugo from Flare. Hugo, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. Great to meet you.
And we're not alone. We got Mickey B. Fresh in the house. Mickey B., how are you today, my friend?
I'm doing great today. Very exciting day. It's going to be an interesting conversation, and with all the price action, it's exciting.
It really is, and I can't think of a better moment to really get together with Hugo here and talk with him about Flare and the Spark airdrop that's coming up. Hugo, let's start with this very quickly. What is Flare?
Flare is a new type of network that uses the Ethereum virtual machine, which is essentially an operating system that runs on a blockchain. And the purpose of it really is to bring utility to tokens or networks that do not have smart contracts. And the first one of those that it's tackling is XRP ledger. And so we've defined a whole way of bringing utility and smart contracts essentially to XRP.
Wonderful. And we've got some questions that will be coming up here, and Mickey B. Fresh, and I'm going to hand it off to him here shortly. But a couple more simple questions here from audience members that I've gathered over time of just listening to or having DMs and stuff. What does Flare stand for? I mean, I know what flares are used for, to send a big signal, right? And what is the big signal that Flare network is sending here?
Okay, so let me just explain the origin of the name, which is essentially there's a problem in computer science called the Byzantine generals problem, and it's a question as to essentially whether to attack or retreat on a particular that is being surrounded by these Byzantine generals, and the question is around how can you trust foot soldiers who are relaying messages. One of the ways we thought it was amusing to solve that would be to use a flare signal in order to solve those kind of messaging problems. Hence, we're called Flare. And then we found out later that an inventor called Martha Coston is one of the first people to have invented the maritime flares, which is one of the key reasons that the Union Navy won in the Civil War.
That is really an exciting answer that you're given here. And, when I first read about Flare, I read about it being a utility fork, right? And I think that's a key word. And you, me, and Mickey B. Fresh had spoke before going live here today. And I wanted to ask you the question, what advantage, and I get this so often in my DMs, what advantage is it for an XRP holder that decides to claim Spark as opposed to an XRP holder that decides to not take part in Spark?
Okay, so for an XRP holder, Spark, I suppose, is used to bring utility both to the Spark Flare ecosystem, but kind of much more importantly to the XRP ecosystem and potentially to other ecosystems down the line like Bitcoin. That's a governance question, not something that we decide. But the point really is that it's about participation. It's about building an ecosystem of developers, of users, of using these tokens, of using these networks. It's not a passive thing. It's very important participate, and we'll discuss in a minute, I think, how that participation can be structured and how people can essentially earn a yield on their Spark. But the point of Flare and the point of Spark is really to bring utility to the XRP ledger, to bring a way to have smart contracts on the XRP ledger so that people that hold XRP can do much more with it than they currently can today. So it has its use as a bridge asset, as well known, but perhaps we can do more with XRP, such as such as using FXRP on Flare with smart contracts. And I think we'll get into some of those use cases in a little bit.
I think that's really exciting too, by the way, because what I hear coming from you and coming from the Flare network is utility, utility, utility. And to me, that's really exciting because I look at the Flare network, the XRP ledger, and even the Ethereum network as like the analogous to the protocols of the current internet we're using to talk today. If I wanted to send you a YouTube link, you know, I'm going to be using a combination of protocols through my email and the simple mail transaction protocol, you know the drill, and all the different, the file transaction protocol and this protocol and that protocol to make sure that you get this one email. And I see that the opportunity with this utility fork of Flare, and I understand it now clearly because we talked offline, but it is a two-way bridge on and off and back on the XRP ledger, correct?
Absolutely. So essentially, Flare and the Spark token enables XRP value to be used on Flare with smart contracts as FXRP. So that's FXRP is just our name for the XRP that exists on Flare smart contracts. And one example might be that you might take your FXRP and you might put it into a smart contract, which enables the issuance of a stable token that is backed by that XRP. And then the bridge can potentially allow for that stable token to be locked on Flare and then reissued trustlessly on the XRP ledger. So what would that mean? That would mean for the first time you have what's known as a trustless gateway. I think for the first time it would be the trustless gateway onto the XRP ledger with an asset that is decentralized. You don't have to trust anyone else for the value of it, and you don't have to trust anyone when you go and redeem it from them, because the whole thing is managed by decentralized networks. So you get your XRP onto and off of Flare, but you can also get other assets from Flare onto the XRP ledger. Those assets can be centralized, trusted perhaps, but we think the real value, the real use cases is for decentralized assets, such as things that have been created either digitally or from collateralization.
So from that statement, because I just have this follow-up and then one more question, we're going to turn things over to Mickey here in a second, but you know, so if I were to take like a DAI coin, could you explain how that could maybe be put back onto the ledger? Is that right? Am I understanding that right?
So DAI is a form of stable coin that is part of Maker on the Ethereum network. Mm-hmm. When I say DAI, I'm talking about something that is similar to a DAI. Yeah. Currently, DAI is collateralized with Ethereum and various other currencies. What we're talking about is a similar idea, but collateralized with XRP. So you can make a dollar-based or a euro-based or a yen-based stable token, but with the XRP it's underneath it. And then you can bring that back to the XRP ledger potentially to trade on the DEX and between counterparties there.
That's pretty exciting. Okay, now one more question, and we're going to hand this off to Mickey B here for a few questions from him. You know, I hear smart contracts. I hear this utility and all this level of utility that you guys are providing now, and it is truly exciting. You know, when I hear smart contracts, the first thing I think of is trade finance, and I have a background in global importing and product design, development, and things like that, and sourcing things from around the other side of the world. And, you know, the first thing I start thinking of with smart contracts is trade finance. When I think trade finance, I think to myself, Hugo, are you getting contacted by people or companies that deal with trade finance? Are they aware of what you guys are doing? Talk to me about that.
So trade finance specifically, I think we have 1 or 2 requests so far. It's something that I certainly think will come, and it's certainly something that we are very interested in. It's actually a really nice use case for blockchain in many ways. It's not specifically as decentralized or trustless as many of the use cases that exist today, but it's a great way to bring essentially law in the form of code to places where actually it's really hard to get access to law, or it's really expensive. because so long as you can trust that the party verifying that, let's say, a good has moved from point A to point B, so long as you're happy with that, then everything else can be handled in code as opposed to in a court. And that is really useful. So that is a use case that we're interested in. Today, the use cases sort of coming to Flare are very much around things that have been built on Ethereum and are being essentially transplanted onto Flare. Things like DeFi, things like gaming and NFTs. Then there's some very interesting use cases that are very specifically sort of centered around the XRP ledger and Ripple, which is a much more, I suppose, institution-friendly ledger and kind of ecosystem than maybe some of the other ecosystems. So we've got things like corporate KYC, which are we're talking to. So corporate KYC profiles essentially existing either on Flare or off-chain, such that you can at least demonstrate for every transaction or many transactions that you've done your KYC. That's a great use case. And then, yeah, there's certain stable tokens potentially coming to Flare. There'll be some announcements in the next couple of weeks.
That's wonderful. Now, I'm getting ready to turn this over right now to Mickey B. And Mickey, get ready. I'm going to ask him this question, and then you're going to drop it like it's hot, because I know you have some really great questions about claiming Spark, earning rewards. But as I understand it, Hugo, you got some pretty breaking news on defining how the airdrop is going to happen, and you'll be sharing that today. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. We're putting a blog out later, which kind of goes into a lot more details about the airdrop. One of the things it discusses is the way that the tokens that you claim unlock. So as you know, you're claiming a certain amount of Spark. Those don't come to you on day one. 15% come to you on day one, with the remainder essentially unlocking over time. Now, people will ask this question and they'll ask it almost immediately. What happens if I'm at an exchange? Okay, if you're at an exchange, they will distribute the token to you incrementally over time. And if you are, if you're setting up with a self-custody solution, such as a hardware wallet, where you hold your Flare account, not an exchange, then the system will simply unlock the token over time. So that's very important. Why this structure of the distribution looks like that. So yeah.
Okay, great. Mickey, we're going to turn it over to you. And just to be clear too, Hugo, when let's say I claim 5,000 XRP and then I get a Spark drop on Uphold, let's say, and I'm going to earn, 15% of that drop and then 3% a month after. If I move my original holdings of XRP to another exchange in the interim, do I continue to get that because that's a part of the snapshot?
You'll still get it, but at Uphold.
Got it. Okay, Mickey, You got some great stuff, man. Let it rip, brother.
Yes. So, Hugo, as being in the XR community, we've been one of those communities that haven't had the ability to earn yield on our assets and lend them and really gain an incentive for the community to get involved with the whole ecosystem. Now with Flare, and with the Spark token specifically and the Oracle system, what are the ways that Spark holders and also XRP holders can earn yields by participating in the Flare ecosystem?
Cool. So just to really jump in on that one, pretty much the prime, as we've said, the prime reason we're building this is to bring utility to the XRP ledger and to enable the kind of behaviors you're talking about, which is to earn yield on XRP. And so the existence of FXRP and then the building of DeFi applications by people like Flare Finance is the way that you can potentially earn yield on FXRP, which is your XRP, essentially. Now, with Spark, we have essentially two ways to earn yield. The first is that you lock it up into the FXRP, allows people to mint FXRP against that Spark that you've locked up, and you earn XRP for doing that. Now, that is quite a technically hard process, meaning it requires you to monitor the network 24/7, so that you've always got enough collateral posted against it, such that you're moving XRP around on the XRP ledgers. So it's something that people who are used to running these kind of systems or machines will be doing, and it's something that probably counterparties such as the people I don't want to name names will be doing on people's behalf. So you will deposit your Spark with them, and they will offer you a yield for doing that. But as importantly, or even perhaps more importantly, the actual beating heart of the Flare network is in many ways the Oracle system called the Flare Time Series Oracle, and this is essentially a system that brings data from outside of the network onto the network. And it's a system that replaces mining or staking, because we don't have mining or staking on Flare, but it's the system that replaces that on Flare. So that offers essentially a rewards process, and you don't have to risk anything for that. Simply, your Spark has these kind of votes attached to it, which you delegate. So you can either provide a price directly to the Flare Time Series Oracle, and that price is weighted by your number of votes, or you can delegate your votes to someone else who provides that price. Either way, there shouldn't be any risk to you, meaning that you're not at risk from losing that money, and you will potentially earn upside from the payouts of the Flare Time Series Oracle. Just to go into a little more detail on that. Are structured such as to build the ecosystem as quickly and as decentralized manner as possible, such that the payouts are very much higher at the beginning than later on. And what that also should do, as we're doing a utility fork, and a lot of people will end up with a Spark token that maybe are only there to take the value from it, rather than to build the ecosystem, rather than to use it, rather than participate. So what that will do is basically it moves the rewards away from those people that sell it at early days to people that want to participate, to people that want to hold the token. Mickey, any questions there, or I can discuss what you should be asking your exchanges to be doing.
Yes, everyone in the community, yes, I think we should discuss that. What they should be asking their exchanges, like, for example, Uphold. Will I be able to delegate my votes from Uphold to earn that commission to the data provider?
Okay. So most exchanges offer, decent or large exchanges offer some form of staking service to their users. Now, staking for proof of stake chains, which Flare is not, comes with a risk. It comes with a risk of slashing. And that is when you stake to the wrong people that you can lose money. Really importantly, Flare does not have that risk. When you're only delegating your vote, you are not locking your token anywhere with regards to the Time Series Oracle. Not as an agent. As an agent, you're locking your token up as collateral, but with the Time Series Oracle, the second and the more sort of the more it's sort of, I would say, almost important for the general population cash flow from the Flare network, you're not locking it up, you're just delegating the votes. So any exchange should really be able to implement over time an ability for you to delegate your votes to either them as a data provider or various other data providers, so that you can earn that Oracle rewards, which, like I said, is somewhat analogous to staking, but without the risk of slashing. I hope that's clear.
Yes, that's clear. That's excellent that us as holders of Spark are going to be able to earn rewards, and then also be able to have the utility of the Spark token and use it within the ecosystem as well. Now, how does that process differ from something like ETH 2.0, where you stake to secure the network, and how does that affect the value that will be ultimately trustlessly held on the network? How does this Flare basically compare to ETH 2.0 in that way?
Okay, so with ETH 2.0, when you stake, you're actually just staking it to a node or a set of nodes that participate on the network. Now, when those nodes do something that's deemed as incorrect, essentially what ETH 2.0 will do is it will take some of that stake from those nodes and usually burn it. I think is I can't remember the exact way it works, but that's not what we're doing, because we do not use money or value to secure Flare. Like, that's not how our algorithm works. That's not how that's not how Flare solves what's known as the Sybil attack. Flare solves it using federated Byzantine agreement that's essentially been in operation since XRP was launched and since Stellar was launched. So it's a well-known algorithm. It's been in production for a long time. We're just an upgrade of that, which brings in smart contracts. So that's what we're doing. It is that you're not risking your Spark. You're just bringing your votes to the Oracle. That doesn't risk your Spark. So you either earn money or you don't. And if you don't earn money over a very long time period, you will of course lose value because the percentage ownership of the network declines. So essentially, if you are a bad participant or you don't participate, then your money will get inflated away, and that inflation will go to people that do provide good prices or do participate. And this is a really important feature actually that I wanted to kind of pick up on, is participation is really important. You can't build an ecosystem without participation, and you can't build something of value without participation. The reason the dollar has value is because everyone that uses the dollar is participating in the economy, okay? And that's the same with a blockchain. That's the same with a token. So the point is that, the point of the way the Flare Oracle works is that if you participate, you get rewards. And those rewards essentially come at the expense of people that don't participate or are malicious. So that's how that works.
Excellent. Excellent. So next, I just wanted to dive into the process of minting FXRP with our XRP as XRP holders. Now, is there any special rewards that will come with the minting of XRP, and what goes along with that process?
Okay, so in order to incentivize essentially the accumulation of XRP value onto Flare, the Spark to Jed McCaleb that could have been claimed by fraudsters if we weren't cutting them out, that could have been claimed by scams if we weren't cutting them out. If you are an individual that holds more than 1 billion XRP, we are limiting the amount of XRP you can use to claim the token. So any amount above that from those individuals, they are all added to a pool, which will be roughly about 10 billion Spark tokens. End up being sort of about 10 billion Spark tokens. And this will be used as an early incentive for people to mint FXRP. So to use their XRP to mint FXRP. They will earn Spark for doing that, but they will of course get that FXRP on Flare, so they're not losing anything. But they get those tokens on top.
That's awesome. That's a great incentive to get people to participate in the ecosystem. You could earn, and now you could use your FXRP in different DeFi applications and other things, along with earning with your Spark. So this should incentivize the community, and I hope everyone is paying attention to not just sit on these things, that they're here to be used and take advantage of the network's utility. And on top of that, you're going to earn yield and compounding interest for participating. So I think it's just the incentive design is brilliant, in my opinion.
I'm glad to hear that. I mean, one of the things we want to do is increase liquidity in XRP, increase liquidity on the XRP ledger, increase liquidity on the XRP DEX. Because all of this will build a better ecosystem, and all of this makes the use case for XRP stronger and the adoption for it better.
Excellent. Now, just to touch back on what you were saying earlier with the trustless bridge between XRP and Flare. So any assets that are issued on Flare, including a XRP collateralized stablecoin, could then be traded on the XRP ledger's DEX. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Potentially there's a way, and we've defined it in a blog post on our blog, which is blog.flare.xyz, which we call closing the circle. So it's a relatively simple system which allows assets to be locked on Flare for those assets to then be issued on the XRP ledger as I think what people call what Ripple calls issued currencies, and what other people called IOUs. And then if people extend trust lines to them, which I believe they will, then it will allow it to be passed around on the XRP ledger and traded on the XRP DEX.
Now, those would be trustless assets for the most part if it was a stable coin, unlike just a regular issued currency through an XRP ledger gateway, right? So that's what makes these unique.
Because the value to those assets are essentially underpinned by whatever the collateral is. And that collateral could be FXRP, which is, of course, the that is your XRP that's been put onto Flare, or and put onto Flare trustlessly, or it could, of course, be collateralized by a Spark or any other token that is trustlessly issued on the Flare network. So that would be underpinned trustlessly, and the only things you need to actually trust are the networks themselves and the smart contracts.
Excellent. That explains a lot. I mean, I see this as the incentives are designed to go with each other to grow the ecosystem on both sides, XRP Ledger and Flare, and to work together.
To try and think about it is, there's been some discussion about how much liquidity of XRP there is, and whether that's been whether that's been a hindrance to ODL. Well, suddenly, if you can sort of trustlessly move your XRP around, lend it out, and all that kind of stuff, then suddenly the liquidity should increase substantially.
Well said. Go ahead, Mickey.
No, I was just going to ask one final question.
Yeah, go ahead.
About where you foresee now the Oracle system, which you said is the beating heart of the Flare network, kind of like mining is to Bitcoin, but without proof of work. Now, can that Oracle system expand further out into traditional markets like stock markets, derivatives, and other ecosystems and pull in price feeds?
Absolutely. You can add, we call it the Flare Time Series Oracle. And it's a very generic way of bringing data to the network. And in fact, what's really important is that an application that is built on Flare doesn't have to actually use the price that Oracle puts out. So let's say the price that Oracle puts out is on, let's pick a stock, Tesla stock. Now, there might be 50 or 60 price providers all providing that Tesla price, and they might do it in different ways. One of them might be calling a bank's software system. One of them might be calling a software system at an exchange. Now, any application that uses that system, they don't have to use the price that the system agrees on. They can use any one of those underlying pieces of data from the 50 providers, and they can recombine it however they like. And that's really important because that then allows you to see the Flare Oracle system not just as a way for understanding what the Spark XRP price is, but as a generic Oracle system that allows people to use any of the data that comes to the network. And importantly, there's a natural incentive to bring the data to the network, and you don't have to create a new bespoke price for it, a new bespoke token for it, and you don't have to pay per time you call for the data. So that's a very important element.
That's a very novel way to bring all the price feeds in and data, like you said, which is going to be important for these networks to expand and mature over time as more applications are built on them, especially on Flare specifically.
We've replaced the mining system because FBA networks don't have them. They don't need them. with essentially a data system, data provision system, and that is something we think is highly valuable.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Of great utility.
Yeah. So Hugo, in wrapping this thing up here, and was there anything before I ask my last question that you wanted to touch on while we're here?
I think I would probably want to, just say it's really important that people understand this. The snapshot, which is on the 12th of December,
right,
it's really for exchanges. That is the deadline by which exchanges have to agree to participate. There's been a huge amount of discussion about, do I have to register before the snapshot? If you self-custody, if you keep your private keys essentially on a ledger device or in a software wallet, then you have until the 11th of June 2021 to claim your token. The 12th of December snapshot date and the information around it is that if you keep your XRP at an exchange that does not participate in the snapshot, you will never be able to get your Spark. So if you want to claim your Spark and your exchange is not participating in the snapshot, you have to move your Spark either to another exchange or to self-custody. That is the reason why we have the 12th of December date. That is the reason why there's a lot of discussion about that date. But it is nothing to do with if you have your own hardware wallet, if you are self-custody. That date is the only relevance that date has to you is that is related to the amount of Spark that you will receive when you make the claim. So we just take the balance at the 12th of December, specifically at midnight GMT on the 12th of December. So the end of the 11th of December, the first seconds of the 12th of December. And that is how much Spark you can claim is related to your XRP balance at that moment. And that's it. The second thing I'd like to say is, we've been amazed at the XRP community's response. Thank you for welcoming us and in some ways, I suppose, accepting us. And we really look forward to working with you all. And please participate in Spark. Please use your XRP. These are the things that build the ecosystem. These are the things that make the ecosystem better, richer, more diverse and stronger. So please do engage as much as you can. Hodling is great, but it's not the only thing that we need to do as a community.
Well said, Hugo. And I also wanted to ask you just two quick things. One, because the audience will absolutely chase me down if I don't ask this. Coinbase. Have you had any talk with Coinbase? I mean, everyone asks about Coinbase, and you're on a ton of other exchanges, but I got to ask about Coinbase.
I actually spoke to Coinbase today. That doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Unfortunately, I don't know whether they'll support it. If they announce, they will announce. My advice would be to make sure that, if there's a moment where you feel that you are not able to get your XRP out of an exchange that is not supporting. So if you think that the 6th of December is the right day to make a decision, then that's the right day to make a decision. I can't discuss that. So at the moment, Coinbase are not supporting. They haven't said they will. We are talking to them. It is really up to them whether they announce.
Wonderful. Thank you for answering that. And the other thing, I just want to finish with this thought and give you a moment to speak on this, Hugo, is that, when I hear about this utility fork and all of this utility that you're really bringing to the XRP ledger and anything else that wants to hook up and participate in this thing, what I'm hearing about is a high value design. Okay. And how much value are we talking about could be on the Flare network here? I mean, what is this thing able to scale to here? What are we talking about?
So, one of the core reasons we are building Flare, beyond just, bringing utility to XRP, because there's no point in bringing utility to XRP if it can't scale. But when people talk about proof of stake, they're talking about scaling essentially for transaction. numbers. If you secure your network with value, with money, which is what proof of stake does, then you have to scale that value as the network grows. So we built this specifically to create a network that was not, which didn't have safety that was relative to the amount of value locked in as stake. So the answer is, I suppose, trying to make it succinctly or short, is there isn't a number that is sort of to be discussed that's relevant. Ultimately, these kind of algorithms can support potentially extremely very large values without breaking down safety limits.
Wonderful. Hugo, I just want to thank you for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy. I mean, you guys are getting a lot of attention. And I think, together, Mickey B, myself, I think we've really wanted to come together, and for the sake of everyone out here in the space that's an XRP holder, to try to really bring that definitive resource video for everyone to be able to really get a true understanding of what Flare Network and the Spark and the claiming and not claiming and what it all really means and what the potential is. And what I'm hearing at the end of the day, it's utility, 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 my friend. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I hope it's made it more clear, and thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Hugo.
Yeah. Mickey B, thank you, my friend. Hugo, take care of yourself, and I hope you will come back and see us soon after the Snapshot.
Absolutely.
That'll be great. Take care, everybody.
Thanks. Have a great day.
You too. Take care.
Goodbye.